and welcome to this vlog post. I'm narrator Rebecca McKernan, and today I'm going to be sharing with you another romance. There's been a spate of them lately, and this one is written by Kimberly Keyes. It's called, sorry, I'm reading off of my phone. The Trouble with Tigers. It's the first in Kimberly's Hidden Treasure series, and I promise that there's no sounds like that in the actual audiobook production. I'm better at editing audiobook productions than I am at videos, so that's just going to stay in there. Let me read to you the back of the book. When Lord Zeke Thurgood, grandson to the Earl of Claiborne, returns to London following a trip abroad, he's flummoxed by his grandfather's new servant, Kit. Young Kit's not only woefully inadequate, he's odd. Witness Kit's penchant for staring at Zeke like a cat-eye's fresh cream. Lady Kitty Hastings thought hiding as a boy servant would safeguard her from her guardian. Enter Lord Zeke Thurgood, magnificent, maddening Zeke, whose grousing unwittingly leads Kitty's nemesis straight to her. Zeke is still reeling over Kitty's true identity when his grandfather announces their fake engagement. Emphasis on fake. Zeke's plans don't include marriage, much less staying in England. Only, after Kitty assures him he's not the man for her, it dawns on him. Kitty's irresistible mix of courage, determination, and charm are exactly what he's been missing. Now he needs to convince her they're a perfect match, or lose the best thing that ever happened to him. Bear with me 1 second. I am going to read you the first couple of pages, but I've got to find it on my phone first. So this is a cute, cheeky, happy-go-lucky romance from Kimberly Keyes, The Trouble with Tigers. And I will read to you maybe the whole prologue. Let's see how it goes. Prologue. London, England, March 1877. "Here we are then, miss." Thunder boomed in the distance, punctuating the hackney driver's words as he rolled to a stop in the fashionable London neighbourhood. At least, glancing around at the great manses looming in the moonlight on the relatively wide tree-lined street, Kitty supposed it was fashionable, but perhaps a better term to describe it would be moneyed, or of the upper crust. She hadn't much to compare it to, as she'd only travelled to London town once in her adult life. Too bad grandfather hadn't accompanied her on that occasion. When was it? 2 years ago? Perhaps then he would have brought her to meet his most trusted friend. Instead, here she sat, alone, afraid, penniless, with the meagre breakfast she'd ingested at dawn long gone from her belly, and about to introduce herself to an earl. She closed her eyes, reliving her previous visit to London, all sunny days, spent in a blur of shopping for gowns, gloves, hats and slippers for her supposed upcoming season. How things had changed. Another rumble of thunder rolled through the low-hanging clouds. Time to quit stalling. She opened her eyes. "Right. This is my stop, then?" She hated the telltale quiver in her voice. The driver eyed her over his shoulder, his expression as dubious as when he picked her up on the outskirts of town earlier. Not that she blamed him then, or now. She had jumped out of the darkness at him as he approached his cab, parked behind the lonely inn. Alarm had squeezed an odorous belch out of him, confirming her suspicion he'd come from enjoying a hot toddy. But he did not appear happy to see her. But in her defence, she'd been hiding amongst the trees, waiting for a vehicle for hire for hours when he arrived in his hackney, and could no longer feel her toes thanks to the damp chill. She wasn't about to let him disappear. To that end, she crawled in his cab, quick as you please. From the superior vantage point, she recited the address consigned to memory, and huddled into a corner of the worn bench. She relaxed all of 2 seconds before the driver's hearty cackle threatened to fray her very last nerve. Evidently, he found her mud-splattered, rumpled black lace gown and overall dishevelled appearance incongruous. Ooh, incongruous. Oh my gosh, you can't say that word today. Incongruous with her destination. He stopped laughing when she fixed him with a glare and thrust her mother's pearl earrings at him as payment for the fare. Now he pointed to the marquee swinging in the gusting wind above the tall, spiked iron gate, announcing for all and sundry this was No. 2 Grove Street, Claiborne Manor. Right, she said again, this time with more verve. Stiffening her spine, she stepped from the cab. No sooner had her aching feet touched the cobblestone street than the driver urged his horse forward. He departed without a backward glance. Left to her own devices yet again, Kitty shivered, with dread, or cold, she couldn't really say. Her bones had long since turned to ice, true, but she also stood in darkness, outside a stranger's home, nothing but her word to recommend her. What if he refused to see her? What if he refused to help? A fat, frigid raindrop landed on her netted cap with a splat. She almost laughed despite herself. Kitty lifted her chin and swung open the gate. Drawing a bracing breath, she marched up the walk. The skies opened as she mounted the steps to the front doors, as if mocking her show of bravery, as if daring her to give up. Well, she was made of sterner stuff than that. Besides, what else did she have to do at the moment? She pressed in under the eave, shoved her dripping hair from her forehead, and pulled the netting of her cap over her face to cover any possible mud or bruising. Only then did she lift the heavy brass knocker. The thick wooden door opened on well-oiled hinges after a few seconds that felt like an eternity. A grey-haired man, dressed in formal butler attire, eyed her from head to toe. He didn't look impressed. She read his intent to close the door in her face and forestalled him, using her most authoritative tone. "Lady Maidstone, to see the Earl of Claiborne on an urgent matter, sir, if you please." Her heart hammered in her chest as she stared at the servant through the dotted gauze, willing him to invite her in. Behind her the rain fell in deafening sheets. The butler closed the door in her face. She blinked, turned on the stoop, and stared out at rain, so cold it should be snow. Oh, grandfather, what am I to do now? That was the first couple of pages of Kimberly Keyes' The Trouble with Tigers. You can find that whole book on audio, obviously. Sorry, I'm not going to edit this. This vlog has had words that aren't words, random noises. Kimberly Keyes, you are welcome. You can find that book on Audible, Amazon and iTunes. I am Rebecca McKernan, professional voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and you can find me on RebeccaMcKernan.com and Facebook and Twitter at Becca Tells Tales. And just to reiterate, my audiobooks are highly edited. Anyway, have a great day and I'll speak to you next time. Mwah.